Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Today, a family profile. We do these every so often, and today's family are the tanagers. Truly one of the most beautiful family of birds on the planet. And of course, I'm going to be focusing on the ones that we find up here in North America. And there are four species of tanagers that I'm going to be covering. Whereas if you look up tanagers as a whole, you'll say, wait a minute, there's hundreds of species of tanagers. And yes, there are. And most of those are located in Central and South America. And they were all considered one big group until a few years ago. And the ornithological community, through mainly like DNA work and all, decided that our tanagers, the ones that nest up here, are a different group than the what they call true tanagers in the Central and South America region. So our birds are now lumped in with the cardinals and the grosbeaks and the buntings, that family of birds, and not with the what are called true tanagers in the South. So that was a little confusing and a blow to us bird lovers because we love our tanagers, and we think of them as true tanagers, but they're in the official world, ornithological community, they are not. So what I'm going to start with is the most common and pretty much the most, I would call it the most widespread of the tanagers in our part of the world, North America, and it doesn't reach all the way to the west. It is from eastern North America, more southern, but up about 2/3 of the country north, and then across the south, all the way to the New Mexico, Arizona area. And that's summer. This is the summer tanager. The summer tanager is the only true red bird, all red bird in North America. And whenever people, the years I've been doing this, people will call and they said, I saw one of them red birds, and that like cardinal. No, that other red bird. And this is usually what they're talking about. Some people call one of the nicknames for this bird was summer redbird, and they are truly red. They're a beautiful red. The males are, and all of the tanagers we're going to be talking about, all tanagers are sexually dimorphic, meaning that our birds, you can tell the males from the females by their appearance. In the summer tanager, the male is a beautiful red, and the female is yellow. She is, you can see how she is the exact same shape. She's got the same bill, everything, but she's yellow where the male is red. And they're very popular. And one of the reasons this is a timely topic right now is because they will visit your oriole feeders. They do mainly eat insects. And believe me, the summer tanager is a bee and wasp specialist. Back in my nature center teaching days, I'd tell the kids, I'd ask them, we'd hear one singing in the woods. And I'd say, well, how many of you like to get stung by a bee? And of course, everybody, ooh, boo, boo. I said, well, if you don't like bees, you love summer tanagers. And if you could have one fly around on your shoulder and catch the bees, you would love it. And not only do they catch the adult bees and wasps, and it's hilarious to watch them when they catch them, they fly over them because they got a longer bill, and they get them and they take them and they beat them against the limb to kill them. And then you'll see them rub that bee back and forth. And what they're doing is rubbing the stinger out of the bee or wasp, and then they'll swallow it. Once they've taken care of the adults around a nest, then they'll start tearing into a bee or wasp nest and eating the larvae out of there. So they are truly bee and wasp specialists, but they also eat fruit. And in the springtime, especially, whenever you put your jelly and your oranges out for your orioles, you will often see this. This is a male summer tanager, and he is eating on that pulp, and he's also eating on the jelly in this Oriole Fest bird feeder. So they will come and visit. At my old house that I lived in for 15 years, there were springs where we actually had more visits from summer tanagers than we did Baltimore orioles or orchard orioles at our feeders, because they nested in the woods back behind our house where the orioles didn't. So the summer tanagers, but again, like most of these birds, like orioles as well, when they start feeding their babies, they stop visiting the citrus and the jelly almost entirely. Not they still do visit a little to get a quick energy hit, but for the most part, when they're feeding babies, they have to feed them insects. So they really become bug specialists then when they have babies. So now one of the most confusing conundrums in the bird world, especially if you're a new bird watcher. Here we go. Remember, red for male, yellow for female. And then what happens when you see this bird? We affectionately in the bird community call these mustard and ketchup birds. This is a juvenile male summer tanager who is in his first year. He was hatched last year, spent the winter in the tropics and in the back in our area here. And he is about half and half. And this can take form. The red and the yellow distribution can be all crazy all over this bird. And there's hardly a bird out there that's more asked about to me over my 40 years than this guy right here. I've had beginning bird watchers who just really are getting into it come in out of breath and I just saw this bird and Mark, I don't know what it was. It was like half orange, half yellow, and yes, this is a confusing bird. Next summer, or by the end of this summer, he'll be completely red, like a traditional adult male. But when you see these now, and this can, the other Orioles I'm going to be talking about, you can see them also, but in this transition plumage. But for summer tanagers seem to be the most famous because they're a little more conspicuous maybe than some of these others. But they have that one of the better ways to tell them it is that large yellowish beak of theirs, and they really going to have a substantial beak. It's really thick. And again, that's a lot to do with the bee and wasp thing, the food preferences and all. But this female's eating jelly. I don't know if you can see, but she has a tip of grape jelly on her bill there that she's eating that. And that usually only lasts for 2 to 3 weeks when they first return. And that's starting to happen now. They're starting to show up at bird feeders. And so you need to be on the lookout, especially you live in, the eastern 2/3 of the country in the southern part of the U.S., all across Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. You actually can see this take place. So the summer tanager. Now, how I found that when we talk about their songs to me sound, I've always said they sound like a robin who has a sore throat. The pattern is much like a robin, but not nearly as sweet, a little raspier. So I'm going to play this. And remember, I use the Sibley's app to birding on my phone. So I'm going to play that for you. This is a song. Now, and again, if you know the Robin song, that sounds a lot like that. But I tell you, if you have a hard time separating that out, what you can usually tell the summer tanager by is its call, not its song. This will stand out, and it's very unique. And you will both the male and the female do that, and so you tend to hear that, and that alerts you to their presence, and then you hear that raspy song, and that helps you identify the song when you hear that tick sound up there in the woods, and we'll be hearing that very soon. So the summer tanager, all red bird for the male, all yellow bird for the female, and then the mixture, the mustard and ketchup bird. Don't forget about those because they'll be singing just like the adult males will. Now, the next of the tanager group is one of my personal favorites. I think they're one of the most beautiful birds in North America, and that is the Scarlet Tanager. And this guy here, this is a beautiful photograph of a singing male, and they are a brighter, almost an iridescent red, and black wings and black tail. Just stunningly beautiful birds. And whereas the summer tanager that we first discussed likes more open woodlands, the Scarlet Tanager likes thicker woods. They tend to be in more deciduous woods and maybe some mixed pines, but they're up high in the trees, and they're quite often hard to find because once the leaves are come out, then they're bouncing around up there in the high woodlands and the high treetops. Then you really have to be alerted to their song. And one of the things that's really cool about them, again, they have that similar song in the that it sounds like a raspy robin as well, but um, the call note is again something that you can be alerted to. So you get that raspy round song, but their call note is chick burr, chick burr. And again, that you hear that, and that alerts you to their presence, and then you start hearing their singing their song, and it is that raspy robin type song. So, and like the Summer Tanager, the females are yellow in the Scarlet Tanager, but they have darker wings. Sometimes that dark, because of lighting, it can be hard to see, especially in shadowy woodlands. And so you have to key in on the bill. Their bill is not as big as traditionally as a Summer Tanager, a little shorter and a lot darker. They're usually not as yellow as the Scarlet Tanager, but they're truly a beautiful bird, and one I look forward to seeing every year, especially in migration. They nest in our area. They probably nest, they nest a bit further north. They go up into southern Canada. We're nesting where Summer Tanagers are more kind of that line down around Missouri, Kentucky, Illinois, those states. But up north of there, the Scarlets reach that far north. So but truly the eastern half of the country are the Scarlet Tanager nesters, and they do like more mature woods. And unfortunately, they're often a victim of cowbird parasitism. See my video, if you've watched my video on cowbirds, how they lay their eggs in other birds' nests. What they'll do is when they find a Scarlet Tanager nest, they remove an egg of their own, of the tanagers, and throw it out and lay one of their eggs. And Scarlet Tanagers are not skilled at picking out a cowbird nest because they did not evolve with them out on the plains like some of the other species that are much better at identifying cowbird eggs. These being eastern deciduous woodland nesters, cowbirds haven't been in that part of the world for that long. They've moved in there since we cleared land and introduced cattle all into that area. So cowbird parasitism is a bad thing for Scarlet Tanagers. Now, you guys out west, we've got a couple of different species for you. The first being the beautiful Western Tanager. And the Western Tanager, I've heard people compare it to a flame. They have the orange faces and the degrees of head. I'll show another picture in just a second. Then it gradually fades into that yellow all down the body, and just absolutely beautiful. This is another picture taken the one out west, and you'll see, look how orange that head is. So it's just a stunningly beautiful bird. And yes, they will come to fruit, and they are in jelly in the spring when you're out there. Now, they tend to live in higher elevations, and they tend to be more pine or pine hardwood mixture areas up there. I've seen them a lot in conifer forest in Colorado, in California, and breeding out in that part of the world. But truly a beautiful bird. They can actually kind of be hard to find. They blend in pretty well, dancing around in there. And like the other two, the female is quite a bit different than the showy male. So the Western Tanager is like I said, a beautiful bird that reaches further north than our other tanagers. Now they're Western, but they reach all the way up into Canada and up toward in Alaska. But they're only up there for a short period. They migrate up there, lay their eggs, have their babies, and then they're headed back south again. And all the tanagers that we're talking about winter down in mostly Central America. They go a pretty good way south for the whole winter. Then the Western Tanager is the farthest reaching to the north. The next one is the farthest reaching to the south. And this is the bird that is the least common for us here in North America. This is the Hepatic Tanager. And first off, you might think, oh, that looks a lot like the Summer Tanager, but it is not nearly as bright as the Summer Tanager. This is a more dull color of red. And I think the scientific name means almost liver colored. And they have the cheek patch on them, which is pretty cool. And they are very much piney wood nesters. In the mountains of the Southwest. But this is our furthest reaching tanager to the south. it goes further down into Mexico and Central America, and they nest all the way down there as well. But this one, it reaches up into the very southern part of the Southwest, New Mexico, Arizona, and I think it fingers even up into Colorado at some of the high elevations. So the Hepatic Tanager, I understand it will visit feeders. If you live in that area and you put the fruit out for them, be on the lookout for them. They're, like I said, compare that red to this red. I mean, that's a much more brilliant red on the Summer Tanager, and they nest in the same areas out there in those states, the southwestern states, but they tend to be in the river bottoms and in cottonwoods and sycamores and things along rivers and streams, where the Hepatic Tanagers are up at the higher elevations in the coniferous forest. So 4 beautiful species of birds here in North America, the Tanagers: Summer Tanager, Scarlet Tanager, Western Tanager, and Hepatic Tanager. So thought you'd enjoy learning more about those beautiful birds, and they are our friends. They eat a ton of insects, and they're fun to see when they come to visit your feeders. So great idea for a program. I hope you liked it. Give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come by, let's talk birds.